This week we are going to let our guest introduce himself again. Go ahead.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I guess I owe a great debt of gratitude for having me twice. I think in a year. Can't get enough of the show.
Why you keep mentioning Ashley Live?
Mm. Well, I've done about 100 shows this year, and this by far is the most memorable.
Really?
Oh
How
yeah.
so?
Well, probably because you get really good advice.
I try.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it always helps to kind of bounce your ideas off other people. And I know you've been around the block in the music industry.
You think so?
Well, you definitely come off as that.
You just stay up on the information. You're batting a million.
Yeah. Well, just staying up on the information is enough to just take an enormous amount of time out of the very limited period of time for independent artists to focus on the music, myself included.
Hmm.
In addition, like even if I have support, I have assistance management, but that's stuff that I also have to manage. I have to manage the management, so it's just
Hmm.
between that and keeping up on like the latest. I mean, you could spend all day watching YouTube updates on the gurus and oh well now AI is changing this and there's new like Google updates and there's Facebook updates and now frankly I'll go for months at a time where I'm like I got to focus on my music. I can't just keep checking up on every little micro change that happens on a literally a weekly or a monthly basis. It's exhausting and oftentimes it's not even all that useful when it boils down to the end goal for me, which is really to just produce good high quality content for my fans and encourage them to support me and go out and do my gigs. I feel like a lot of the nitty gritty details I just need people to manage for me as an independent artist, and I would assume that a lot of other independent artists need the same kind of support.
Hmm. So talk to me. Tell me what you want to talk about.
Well, I guess. Well, I mean, you just opened up the whole bag of worms with the AI thing because that is just never ending. And now and then I'm like seeing these like clickbait titles like ChatGPT 5 is out now, and I click on the ChatGPT 5 like video, which is like gonna hopefully tell me what it's all about and should I install it now, and it's like it's gonna be out very soon. Like, oh come on, like, and
I'm a fan of the AI. I am, but I have worked with artists that need a collaboration. With the voice recognition, you can really create. I'm not saying in all situations that that's the way that it should go, and you can create with the sound that you're looking for without.
you know, I think that's really optimistic of you to say, and I hope that you're right. Being the pessimist that I typically am, I'm gonna have to counter with potential negative, I don't know, negative outcomes from
Okay.
this sort of like, yeah, it's totally, I can see that being a possibility. That okay, instead of having to like work for hours crunching out a track for a collaborative option, just sending this quick AI sample. But you know what? The more I kind of get involved with the collaborations, and I've actually been fortunate enough to just pump out a new amazing, probably one of the most exciting collaborations I've worked on in a long time.
Mhm.
Misirlou this past week, which I could talk about.
Okay.
I did not land that collaboration until I had fully produced the track. I mean, we're talking
Mhm.
like a full like cinematic orchestral rock kind of upbeat Misirlou, and like pretty much good enough that like the movies would be cool with it. And I ran it by a bunch of artists, and the people that were like really interested, but then, well, let me just get cut to the chase. The Ginny, who I pitched this by, Ginny Luke and Johannes Gritschacher out in LA, they agreed to it because they love the piece so much. So if I had sent them a skeleton, like, oh, here's the general idea, and here's who I am, or my management sent it out, whatever. I don't know. That's the pessimistic Asher talking. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just been my personal experience. I feel like a lot of people just kind of look at the numbers.
It actually could be fully produced.
I got to tell you, I was watching this sync, like movie sync type like workshop, where they were pretty much warning against artists who produce music like myself from getting paid or accepting opportunities from companies like Pond, for instance, that they basically I don't know if you've heard of that Pond. Like they use a raw, what's the word? I don't know why the word's escaping me, but just video and audio and then photo, just pre-produced photos. Stock.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So they discourage that because Pond and these other types of companies are using that stock, the photos and the videos and the audio, and building AI off of that. So at the expense of the artist. So I don't know if, again, I think it's one of those things where it's inevitable, but it's hard to know. It's hard to sort of stop that game from developing because there's so much money being pumped into it and so many people want to use the stock.
So tell me, what have you been doing this last year?
Oh, just twiddling my thumbs. Well, I as you know, I'm a workaholic, so I've just been doing a lot more of that stuff. I probably, since last we spoke, probably produced about at least 12 to 13 singles releases, 5 of which were full symphonies, like classical symphonies, 2 of which are hip hop singles. The most recent, probably the thing I'm most excited about is Misirlou, which is based on a traditional Greek piece that probably most people have heard, but I made it more a contemporary, upbeat, cinematic type of production. And that is what I was mentioning before. I reached out to some really amazing artists and had to go through some red tape to get through Ginny's record label to have her sign on to collaborate on the song. And then I got Johannes, who's he's been on international tours, and he's been on the Tonight Show, the Today Show. I mean, pretty much every show you can think of. America's Got Talent. I mean, it's just really an honor to have even met him. Just to work with him has been pretty cool. It's Ginny's worked with Dave Matthews, Britney Spears, pretty much Jay-Z, anybody you can think of. So yeah, I'm the smaller of the artists, if you will. It's been like an honor to be able to build the backbone of the song, and then to just have them kind of do their thing on it. She added some violin, electric violin, and even some classical to kind of do this dueling thing with me. And Johannes is a drummer, so he turned it he turned it more into like a rock type beat. So that's been pretty cool. And we have the producer of the Pentatonics, the musical director, Lucas Sater of the Pentatonics, who worked on the song, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's been kind of labor of love, just getting it on different platforms and working on the write-up and the blogs and magazines and the influencers and so on and so forth. That's what I've been busy with this past week. The gigs and concerts and stuff like that. It's been about 100. It was about 150 gigs ago that we talked. So there's been a lot of events. I've been traveling. I'm trying to remember when anything in particular that was unique. That's just been, I don't know, been out to LA, Texas. Did some events in North Carolina, Atlanta. Yeah, it's been a busy year. Busy year, a blessed year.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question then. do you think that because you had such a great experience with this collaboration, that you may have been spoiled or not knowing what to expect when you get the collaboration from hell?
Um, I think it's bound to happen actually because I keep seeking out collaborations. I think it's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the redeeming factor is that even if I do end up with the collaboration from hell, I'm not sure. I think the only way to really have a collaboration from hell is where, like I work extensively and like invest extensively in a single, and all of a sudden, like this person wants to completely flip the song upside down after having invested time and effort in it. Um, I mean, I had one collaboration that was kind of a joke. In contrast, she was really talented singer, really into herself, and thought much more of herself than she actually was. Like she thought she was this like major celebrity, and I mean, and she just
You're being so nice.
I mean, I worked on the song and the track, and we just sort of like went our own ways. Like we never got in an argument or anything. We just didn't like finish the project because I was just thinking like, gee, this is not the type of person I really have an interest in working with because she really thinks she's like the shit, and she's really not. I mean, she's got a good voice,
Okay.
and I don't know if she so. And it's funny because she reached out to me first, and then so anyway, just to kind of give you an idea of like the exchange that one of many exchanges that I had that made me just sort of like roll my eyes. It was like where I'm trying to remember actually. Thinking out loud here. She had a track that she recorded with another artist. She said she asked me
Mm-hmm.
to record over it my violin. I said sure. I didn't ask for anything because it was I saw it as a collaboration. I recorded. I sent it to her. She disappears for like 2 months. Nothing happens to the song. She comes back to me. She's like, "Hey, could you record on this song?" I'm like, "Well, what happened with the last song?" She's like, "Oh, it wasn't like, or the label like, said that it wasn't ready or wasn't good or something was missing." I'm like, "Okay, and you want me to record on this for free?" So that was just like, that was like kind of step one in the process of many steps where I was sort of like, that's really entitled to sort of like go to another like an established professional musician, um, and sort of ask them to like work for free after you didn't do anything with the previous recording. But the next
Mm-hmm.
one was like, okay, maybe just to like humor me, I'm just maybe I'll start working on. I gave her a little clip just to kind of entertain myself, see what would happen with it. Um, and well, I'm trying to remember. It's like a number of months ago, like many months ago. She's like, this song. Oh yeah, it sounds good. Let me just run it by the label, and then oh, that's right. And then I said, well, so if you want me to finish up the recording, I'm either gonna need 50% split in the royalties, which is asking like we're not talking an artist who's getting millions of streams. We're talking like an artist who gets like view thousand streams, like has whatever, some screwy stuff on their social media platforms. And I was like, I just look at 50%, I think, or just an even split, or maybe a third split, some percentage. She's like, I'm sorry, if you can't accept basically 0% with the distribution with this label, I'm not going to be able to allow you to play this at your concerts or performances. And I'm like, oh my god, she really doesn't understand reality. I can't believe I even got involved with her. But that's just
I was just about to say that's not correct.
I haven't thought about this in so long since I've just brought it up. But now that I think about like I can't believe that I actually wasted my time. But yeah, so that's just kind of give you an idea as to how insane one of my collabs was. So you could say that could have been the collab from hell. Wow, normal people, like hardworking people, people who care, who have respect for the people who they're collaborating with, people who actually have a resume that's like legit. Yeah, it was definitely a dream. But I've also had like working with Porter Singer was a dream. Was a privilege. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
say that release was a few months back. So she's awesome. She's out in
Mm-hmm.
Washington. Anyway, yeah, I've had some real hit real what's the word? real great opportunities.
Tell me a little bit more about your latest project, the process, what you loved about it, what frustrated you about it, and anything else you want us to know.
Well, what I like to say, probably the most important point, first of all, is again, it was just a privilege working on Misirlou, and I hope that more of the world gets to hear it. It's doing really well as far as the playlists are concerned. It's you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, landing on a lot of, like, for me, I care about targeted playlists as opposed to like, oh, it's on 3 million random playlists. It's kind of targeting like rock and classical and some electronic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's working. Anyway, nobody wants to hear about this stuff. It was. I'm gonna say
I
that.
do.
Yeah. Oh, I'm touched. So so if you want to hear about it, I care that the playlists are targeted because what you see in the stats is that maybe on Chartmetric or within the Spotify for artists, for instance, or even on iTunes, you see that the same people are listening to the music over and over again. So it's like two plays per listener or three plays per listeners. My last single had 8.5 plays per listener, and that's exciting to me as opposed to like 100,000 people who just kind of brush by it once and then they're done. So because the people that want to support you or they want to meet you, the people that are streaming your song 2, 3, 4 times. Anyway, so that's just one little point. Another point is I learned something important in terms of what it means to collaborate with other artists that are of equal and if not greater stature, if you will. Maybe a bit
Mm-hmm.
longer resume, more talented. I don't know. Is taking a step into this group, this effort, this team effort with humility, and I think that really leads to better outcomes. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
the way that Misirlou ended up is different than I had envisioned initially. In fact, had produced initially. I produced it. I posted on my site. It probably lent itself a little more close to my actual listeners, but because I shut my mouth up when it came to their recording sessions, and I made a couple minor mistakes. Like I edited some notes, some rhythm, and then they said, well, can you actually keep it the way it was? And I said, yeah, you're right, this is your baby just as it is mine. And I'm glad that I made that mature step forward because it led to great outcomes. It led to a rock song I did not plan on producing, but it led to like a really positive experience for all of us. And as a result,
Good.
listeners from all ends that are into the song.
What did you bring from all those other previous collaborations to this collaboration to make it great?
Probably just that, just like the understanding that a collaboration is just that. It is not my baby exclusively. It is their baby if I'm bringing them on as a collaborator. Which is a very different ball game than, hey, here's $300. Please record your saxophone or your violin or your trumpet or drums at my direction. It's very different because
Mm-hmm.
you are stepping into their territory when you are asking an artist to collaborate. You are no longer in full ownership of it's a partnership. It's a business partnership, and you need to respect that business partnership. I need to respect that business partnership. That's what I learned. That we are sharing each other's audiences. So what they deem is important, if they think a rhythm should be a bit different, perhaps if it doesn't resonate best with myself or even my fan base, it might resonate much better with their fan base. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a reason to be flexible, really in any business partnership. But this is like a microcosm of a business partnership. Just one contract, one song. Another thing I learned is like, okay, it's one song, one contract, one song. It's not a full album. So what if it's not perfect? So what?
Mm-hmm.
I obviously considered it to be important enough, them to be important enough, them valuable enough to reach out to them to be a part of my project. So therefore, it's incumbent upon me to take the high road and to respect their decisions and to approach it as just a 1/3 of the project is mine. So the single is called Misirlou. Misirlou, Misi.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Misirlou. The only thing to sing aloud.
Oh, tell us.
I misspelled it for months, and until I'm like, whoa. Uh, so that's the name of the single. You can find it on all streaming on all major platforms. You can find it on iTunes. It is also on astrolaub.com/merchandise if you want to check out. Well, if you want to actually download the single, you can also you check out all my music on astrolaub.com, ASHERLAUB.com. And my music is posted on all these shenanigans on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Astrolaub is my name, and I hope you guys can send some love. You can send a DM or a comment on a post, and I'd be happy to connect. And you could just check out. I'm just posting like pretty much recordings every day, every other day, to keep people engaged. And I go live every week. So anyway, I hope to connect with you guys in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. You also mentioned that you had a single to come out 2 months ago.
Well, I released a few things. Two symphonies. One is called Shemesh. Another one was a medley, a 4-song medley, a tribute to Israel, which that actually, for some reason, was the one that had like 8.5 streams per listener on Spotify, which is interesting because I'd never seen numbers like that before, but it was pretty wildly popular among like intense listeners. So those are two other releases. When I say symphony, like 40 tracks, like strings, winds, percussion, yeah, just a lot of instruments and huge labor of love. And I hope you guys, those of you who maybe aren't necessarily into like typical classical, might appreciate the cinematic nature, the beauty of the pieces, Shemesh and a tribute to Israel. And I'm kind of like all over the map here, genre wise. I'm excited to release like some hip hop singles and some EDM classical. So some for everybody.
Okay. All right. Well, show him some love. See you next week. Bye.